damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Considering the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, we're going to talk about Kyler Murray. We're going to talk about Jalen Hurts. We're going to talk about Oklahoma football in general. But let's start with the quarterbacks. Kyler Murray. Title of this video has a lot to do with Gil Brandt, has a lot to do with Kyler Murray, has a lot to do with predictions. And the reason that Gil Brandt is even in the headline is because he's 1 for 1 on his predictions for the 2019 season. For those of you that missed it, Gil Brandt, January 3rd, tweeted two things in the same tweet. One, I would not be surprised if Cliff Kingsbury was an NFL head coach in 2019. Yesterday, it became official that Cliff Kingsbury is the new head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, which seems wrong on its face because Cliff Kingsbury was a middling head coach at best. Now, lots of folks would tell you that Texas Tech is a terrible place to try to recruit to. Lubbock is a different planet, might as well be on Mars. Getting high-value recruits to come out there is not easy, and winning 7 games to 8 games, you would think that's about where Texas Tech has to live. That said, Cliff Kingsbury did have generational talents at quarterback in Baker Mayfield and Pat Mahomes. Didn't do a whole lot with them. I think a lot of this has to do with personality, which I'll get into. But Cliff Kingsbury's track record as an offensive coordinator and a quarterback's coach is pretty decent. Coming out of Houston to A&M, he had Johnny Football. He did have Pat Mahomes. He did have Baker Mayfield. So say what you want about those things. He coached them. They're in the league. They're doing great things. And now with these offenses that are trending more toward air raid types, Cliff Kingsbury's name has been bandied about since about October of last year. Now, Cliff Kingsbury gets fired as the head coach of Texas Tech and then almost immediately takes the job as the offensive coordinator at USC. Now, we all knew that he was being talked about as a guy who could be an offensive coordinator in the NFL, let alone a head coach or even a quarterback's coach. So you kind of feel some kind of way about him taking the USC job. Why? Well, because, USC thought that they had an offensive coordinator and they were able to keep 2020 quarterback Bryce Young on. He was going to raise up JT Daniels. They signed 2 5-stars in Kyle Ford, wide receiver, Brew McCoy, wide receiver. And then on the same day that we learned that they pick up 2 5-star wide receivers, it's announced, or not announced, it's reported by Pro Football Talk that the Jets and Cardinals wanted to interview Cliff Kingsbury. And when they weren't allowed to interview Cliff Kingsbury, what did they do? Yo, man, they said, we're going to move on. So Cliff Kingsbury says, nah, I'm not going to let you do this. I'm not going to let you block this for me, Lynn Swann. Lynn Swann relents. Cliff Kingsbury interviews. He gets the head coaching job. So Gil Brandt is 1 for 1. Now, the second part of Gil Brandt's tweet was, I would not be surprised if Kyler Murray returned to Oklahoma in 2019. Ooh, boy. All right, so let's unpack that for a second. One, you got to take Gil Brandt seriously now. You really do, because he's 1 for 1 in what many folks thought was not really a thing, because what head coaching experience does Cliff Kingsbury have at the NFL level? None. And he's not really that great a head coach for all intents and purposes, but Arizona, you don't have to recruit there, and you got Josh Rosen. Christian Kirk, congratulations. You're going to have 150 catches next year. If Cliff Kingsbury runs true air raid, for which I am here for it. If he runs Hal Mummy, Mike Leach air raid, I want to know if that can work in the NFL, so I'm going to have a lawn chair at every Arizona Cardinals game. But back to Kyler Murray, talking about a guy who would be a first-round draft pick if he would just declare that he's going into the NFL draft and that he's going in early. Now, he hasn't. We do know he signed a contract with the Oakland Athletics for $4.66 million to play baseball, and a part of that contract was you get to play your junior season at Oklahoma. Only nobody expected to go this well. Didn't expect the guy to win the Heisman Trophy, pass 4,000 yards, rush for 1,000 yards, lead the team to a college football playoff appearance. And now it seems that the longer Kyler Murray does not say what he's going to do with his future, the more people are speculating about it, like myself. But let's walk through this. He has to declare for the NFL to get drafted this year in the NFL, because you have to tell the NFL you want to leave early, because leaving early is still a privilege. It is not a right. And the NFL has to sign off on it, which is to say that one of the 32 teams can't just go ahead and say, I'm going to draft him in 2019 if he hasn't declared for the draft in 2019. He just can't play football. Now, he has been invited to spring training February 15th with the Oakland Athletics. So he has said, I'm going to report to spring training in February. And then he won the Heisman. And then Scott Boras kind of backed off of it and said, winning the Heisman Trophy kind of changes things for a guy who plays quarterback. And now today, Susan Slusser at the San Francisco Chronicle reports that sources close to the A's, and she would know, say that we're going to make him pick. You either play baseball or you play football, NFL. You cannot do both. You cannot be a pro in both sports. They're not going to let the Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders thing happen for this kid. Now, the other thing you could do is he could report for spring training in February, right? Go through the summer playing baseball, and then enroll in the fall to play football at Oklahoma. That gets dicey too. Not just because you missed the entire spring and the entire summer, and then they'd have to hand you the team after Austin Kendall, ostensibly, and we'll get to that, had been basically running it. I don't necessarily think even Lincoln Riley would make that kind of a play. Now Jalen Hurts is in the transfer portal, and Jalen Hurts, all reports point to him at Maryland or Oklahoma, some at Florida State, but my money would be on Oklahoma or Maryland. Oklahoma, because we know what kind of quarterbacks coach Lincoln Riley is. We know that the offense and the scheme in place will allow that dude to do what he can do best, and folks thought that Kyler Murray was a damaged quarterback before he got to Oklahoma, and then his season just came out of nowhere to them. He also had 2-3 years in the system. Okay, let's not forget that. Austin Kendall has 2-3 years in the system. Jalen Hurts would have to learn the system on the fly. But I don't think Jalen Hurts is coming if Kyler Murray returns. That doesn't make any sense. However, it's sports. People do stupid things in sports all the time. All the time. Like hemming and hawing about $30 million to play quarterback in the NFL, or $4.6 million to play baseball. Or squash both of them and go back to college and play for free. I just, man, the more I look at this and the more I talk to folks, the more I believe the dude's going to play in the NFL. We're just going to wait until Sunday to figure that out for sure. But now it's Wednesday, and man, so much has gone on. And we haven't even talked about the defensive side of the football for Oklahoma and Alex Grinch and the position coaches search and who's leaving and who's going. But let's just check the chat, see who's here, see what's saying it, what's up. Because this is bonkers, man. Let me see. Yeah, dude. So, what is the deal with Austin Kendall? Who knows at this point, because the dude hasn't actually talked to anybody. But you got to believe that if you're Austin Kendall, the last thing that you want is for Kyler Murray to return and Jalen Hurts to come to Oklahoma. Seems like one or two of those things is going to happen. I got to believe Austin Kendall might go through spring ball. He might see if he can win it or if he could have the job. But you could take this all the way up to the summer, and he could still transfer as late as August and probably have an outsized chance at starting somewhere, kind of like Rafe Peavy at Florida Atlantic, who transferred to Florida Atlantic in August, played some, didn't look great. They ended up going with Chris Robinson at quarterback. But the point is, you could see that happening, especially at a non-Power 5 conference school like, say, Houston. But De'Aaron King is at Houston. I don't think that Houston is where Austin Kendall would go. But might look around at some other places. Maybe TCU if they don't want to block that in the conference transfer rule again. I don't think that Lincoln would do that, and I think he would love for Austin Kendall to have an opportunity to start, even if it's not at Oklahoma, because that's how much he likes his kids. To say nothing of Tanner Mordecai having spent a year in the system and obviously be competing for the job in 2019, and then Spencer Rattler gets to Oklahoma in the summer. It's quarterback heavy, man. It's real quarterback heavy. And the other thing you got to throw into all of this now is that Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts or Austin Kendall would not have last year's line at its disposal, because Cody Ford and Bobby Evans, who are your two starting tackles, have declared early for the NFL draft. Drew Smia, Ben Powers, graduate. So you got one returning starting offensive lineman in Creed Humphrey, who will be a redshirt sophomore. Now, Bill Bedenbaugh has been able to put together outstanding offensive lines after outstanding offensive line after outstanding offensive line. So reloading It's kind of what he's done with this program and what he's done at those positions, because he took a guy in Cody Ford who had never played tackle before in his life, moved him over there, and now we're talking about that guy as not just an early entry, but a guy who could go in the first round because he's that good. He is on par with Dalton Risner at Kansas State. I mean, he could do those kinds of things. He's on par with Jonah Williams at Alabama because he can do those kinds of things. And you have options, is what I'm saying, but I don't know that if I'm Kyler Murray, I would want to return to this football team without the offensive line that I had last year that kept me clean for a very long time. And the one time they weren't able to keep him clean, Alabama, where that defensive line devoured Oklahoma's offensive line and had Kyler Murray running for his life, covered in grass stains, bruises on his helmet, in his face. He did not look like a dude who was having a great time back there playing quarterback, though he did pass for 300 yards and rush for another 100. That on top of, what is your goal? Your goal is to get back to college football playoff, win the semifinal, and then win the championship game. And what we know after watching Alabama and Clemson is Alabama's defensive line's really, really good. Clemson's defensive line was that much better. And breaking in a new offensive line for Oklahoma, I'm not so sure that you can beat that Clemson team, or you can beat those Alabama teams, even as they lose a bunch of dudes on the front for both of those teams, because they've been able to recruit at the positions better than Oklahoma has in recent memory. We're talking about Alabama putting together a #1 recruiting class this year. We all know that Clemson is going to have a top 5 recruiting class this year. And Brent Venables has turned their defense into the standard. Because as much as folks want to talk about what Trevor Lawrence did, myself included, against Alabama, what Brent Venables did against Alabama is also low-key the much more exciting and also just ridiculous thing here. Because, yeah, Alabama scored 16 points. But you also got to remember that after they scored the initial 13, they basically held them in check to 3 points. 3 points from Tua Tagovailoa, who had a QBR of like 200 and who threw 2 picks. Because it turns out we've figured out what Tua's flaws are, right? And I need to make a video about that. But I think all of this speaks to Kyler Murray going to the NFL. And I also think that Austin Kendall is the dude who would love to break in a new offensive line. I think he would love an opportunity to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma. Who would not? That's kind of the point here. That's why Jalen Hurts is taking a hard look at Oklahoma, because he knows that Oklahoma is in a position to be here in the college football playoff again, and Maryland is not, and Florida State is not. So when you're talking about places where he could go any number of places. But if he wants to go somewhere where he has an opportunity to win that's not Alabama, Oklahoma's the only option on the table. Otherwise, just stay at Alabama. You're not going to transfer to Clemson. You're not going to transfer to Georgia. You're not really going to transfer to Auburn, although I think that's a really good place for him to go, because you don't know what you have. And they already got Bo Nix coming in there at Auburn. They like what they got at quarterback, and Gus Malzahn showed everybody that when he's calling the plays, they're actually pretty good. See the Music City Bowl, where they shellacked Purdue. So I think all of this is coming into place for Jalen Hurts to end up at Oklahoma, Kyler Murray to end up in the NFL, and Austin Kendall to transfer. Because at this point, this is a 4-star quarterback who, by the way, was more highly rated than Jalen Hurts was as a quarterback coming out of the 2016 class. Made that video evaluating 2016 quarterbacks, of which Justin Herbert is one, of which Ian Book is one, of which Terry Wilson is one. And you're talking about the dude that is rated above him, Shane Buechele at Texas, and the other dude that's rated above him that we know about is Dwayne Haskins. He's probably going to be the first quarterback taken in the NFL draft this year. So you know that Austin Kendall wants an opportunity to show the NFL what he can do, and he also wants an opportunity to win football games as a quarterback at the college level. So we will see. I just don't see. I want to be the Snake Plissken. That's what that is, dog. So on top of all of this, we got a new defensive coordinator in Alex Grinch. And Alex Grinch is close to bringing in some of his own dudes. You know where that could lead. If you check OUinsider.com, myself and Brandon Drum have been reporting on position coaches and guys you should take a look at. I tell you, dudes that are in the mix: Roy Manning out of UCLA, worked with Alex Grinch at Washington State. Another dude that's in the mix, Chip Viney at Oklahoma right now. coached cornerbacks at Nevada, and I think that Chip Viney is a sleeper pick. I don't necessarily know that he's going to get the job or even be interviewed for the job. I just know that he is the first dude to offer Darian Green Warren, who's 4-star cornerback out of Modern Day, way back when. And we know that he's got good talent evaluating skills, and we know that he is a capable recruiter. And if Grinch continues to do what he's always done, which is be the defensive coordinator and the safeties coach, he's going to look for a cornerbacks coach. And Viney is a corner and a cornerback coach. Julian Wilson swore by him when he was here earlier. So it makes sense, but not if Grinch wants to go get his own guys. And what you would want to let that happen if you were Lincoln Riley. You would want the guy to be able to hire people that he trusts to be around him, because Lincoln Riley did the same thing. You know, he has guys around him that were with him at Texas Tech and familiar with Leach's system and familiar with the kind of air raid scheme that he wants to go get and the kind of players he wants to recruit. I got to believe Alex Grinch is going to want to do some of the same things, especially since it doesn't look like Calvin Thibodeau is going anywhere. So he might actually be the defensive line coach, because we don't really know what's going on with Ruffin McNeil at right now. Tim Kish retired. I don't expect Bob Diaco to return. We'll see, but I just don't see it. I think you're going to have 2 different linebacker coaches, and I think you're going to have at least 1 new cornerbacks coach if it's not Viney. So you're looking at maybe 3 new coaches to add to the mix. I still think that a guy to look at perhaps is also Shane Beamer, who I know is, you know, the 10th assistant and kind of does most of everything in special teams and whatnot. But I guess you would put more of a load on Jay Boulware as well, because he's the running backs coach and the special teams coach. And we know that Shane Beamer was brought in to help with that load. So we'll see. But I really want to see what Shane Beamer can do as a coordinator, if for no other reason than he hasn't actually had a coordinator position yet. That's me selfish, but I think Shane Beamer is going to be an it guy. If not next year, then the year after that, at both the college and NFL levels, because of the amount of experience that he has and the guys that he's worked with and the things that he's picked up. I think these are all things to keep into, you know, in your mindset as you go forward. What else we got in here? The number on scholarships that you can offer, I mean, you can offer as many as you want. But the guys you can take, you're probably looking at 3 or 4 to add to this class, because, I mean, they don't really have a lot that they can count against next year. I mean, they got some early enrollees and Buki and Ronnie Perkins and Deshaun White got over here on the summer. So you don't really have that many. But, I mean, when you're not really going to take in that many more 2019 class guys. Maybe an offensive lineman. We got one that's going to visit this weekend. Maybe another safety. Maybe, but I doubt it. I think you're pretty full right now. I think you might have 1 or 2 sign at National Signing Day, and it won't be that big a deal. And Oklahoma will finish with a top 5 recruiting class. I think you're mostly full is what I'm saying. Do you think we're redshirt all the wideouts next year? Talking about 5 stars. No, I don't think you're going to redshirt all of those guys, because one of the reasons that they showed up is to play. And the only 5-star I expect to redshirt is Spencer Rattler. That's it. I think everybody else is going to fight for an opportunity to play. They're going to try to show out during the spring game, because every last one of those guys is an early enrollee. Trajan Bridges, Theo Weiss, Jaden Hazelwood. You know, I mean, you're good. They all want to play. And save CeeDee Lamb, I think everybody is up to be challenged. Even Charleston Rambo. Michael Jones is going to have to show it. That's a dude that he might be out the door. A.D. Miller saw the white writing on the wall, did the grad transfer thing to Illinois. Good for him. Illinois is going to be stout with some pretty good transfers and grad transfers. And Shamon Cooper, who is committed and I think signed to Illinois, which always felt like what was going to happen. But no, redshirting, I think one of the things that fans in particular, folks that just don't follow all of this really closely, get caught up in, is that you can stockpile these guys and you can't. You know, that's kind of the issue with Georgia. You were making promises to dudes about when they were going to play, and then you brought in all these other 5-stars behind them. And you can talk about competition. You can talk about how dudes need to suck it up and go win the job. But that's not the game. The game is to cash the lottery ticket. College football is a stopgap for the NFL. You do your 3 years, and then you go get paid. You know, or you transfer away to where you know you're going to get film and tape. I think Jalen Hurd is a good example of this. He's a starting running back at Tennessee who transferred because he didn't want to be a running back anymore. He wanted to be a wide receiver. And at Baylor, they said, you're going to be a wide receiver. And then they still had him play some running back because he's enormous. I just think that this is the game, man. I mean, we wouldn't tell guys in the NFL to stay at their respective teams and compete for a job. No, we would tell them to go where they have an opportunity to get paid and also have an opportunity to play. So don't tell these children what they should and shouldn't do. You know, that's not you. Dieter, what do you got? Grinch, Manning, Viney, one more LB, and one more DL coach if we have room. No herds. I like it. I think you're gonna get most of that. Not all of it, but most of it. I think Manning is a good bet. We know the Grinch is here. Viney, maybe. Linebackers, I don't know that you want them because, look, you took in a bunch of linebackers last year. That's the other thing that you have to keep in mind is the scholarship distribution. Folks want defensive tackles to join the class, and I'm telling you, I don't see any. I don't see any defensive tackles join 2019 class because they have the defensive tackles on the depth chart, guys that they liked, guys that they offered, guys that they signed. You got to do what you got to do there. Now, you took in a bunch of defensive ends that might be converted defensive tackles, but I think those dudes came to Oklahoma looking to play defensive end, you know, with the exception of like Joseph Wette, who is a stand-up 3-4 hybrid linebacker kind. Like, I think if you put a little bit more weight on him, you're looking at him to be a Ronnie Perkins type of player, an oboe type of player, striker type of player. But I'm not even sure that that's the kind of defense that Grinch wants to run because everything that I have reported and everything that I have read and everything that I have heard told to me is that he wants a fast defense. He wants a defense that can keep up with the offense and that chases the ball. And that, to me, sounds a lot like what TCU is. They're small and they're fast. They get to the football. They run a scheme that allows them to be multiple and versatile when you're talking about Grinch. Now, I know that Gary Patterson runs his 4-2-5, but if you look at the alignment of Alex Grinch's 3-4 with the one gap technique, it's basically a 4-2-5. Nobody wants to say that out loud for whatever reason, but that's what I see, you know, and that's the only way that you could coach it, especially if you're talking about being multiple and playing fast. What's going to tell you a lot is what that fourth linebacker looks like. If that fourth linebacker looks like Caleb Kelly or Ryan Jones, it's basically a 4-2-5 to me, except Caleb Kelly can't cover. Ryan Jones has cover skills because he's dropping down from safety. But also, Ryan Jones was a project of Tim Kish, so we'll see where Ryan Jones ends up because I think Ryan Jones could make a move back to safety. I also think that Buki can make a move back to corner. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. What else we got in here? Why isn't his mom? I don't know about that one, man. I don't know about that one either. So Joseph Wette is like a Mark Jackson. Yeah, except he's enormous. And he's very, very smart. That's the thing I really love to get to know about Joseph Wette is he's a very smart, capable dude. Matter of fact, all of the dudes in the 2019 class, for the most part, are smart and capable, not just football savvy. You know, like EJ for one. I talked about Joseph a bit. Jaden Davis is very intelligent. I also think that if you run a nickel, Jaden Davis could be a guy that can play some nickel. He understands leverages. He understands where his help is, and he can cover. Woody Washington, I think that dude is your heir apparent to be your Trey Brown, Parnell, Motley, shutdown corner type of dude. I just think that that's where he fits best. He is a cover corner. When you talk about Jamal Morris, he could play right away. We'll see. He's got plenty of competition. We'll see what Robert Barnes looks like because he's that hamstring of his, man, just can't stay healthy. Justin Broyles is going to be back, and we all know that that dude is feisty as all get out. You got options, you know. It's really difficult to say anything negative about the 2019 class because to date, it's my favorite, and to date, it's everybody's favorite because the wide receiving group is legendary already just because of the stars next to their name with Spencer Rattler throwing passes. Marcus Major in the backfield. Ramondre Stevens coming in. You're okay. You're pretty good. You're pretty decent. What we got in here? Let me see. Tijuana, what you say? Tijuana says something. I missed it. Norman Beerfield in here. Hey, what's up, Norman? Dan Moore, we don't want Hurts. That's a trash take. Let me tell you why that's a trash take. That's a trash take because Jalen Hurts is 26-2 as a starter. And if he came to Oklahoma, he and Cale Gundy would be the only two people with national championship rings. And Cale Gundy's is 18 years old. Jalen Hurts knows what it means to win a national championship in the last 5 years. Jalen Hurts brings a championship pedigree. He brings an enormous man playing quarterback. He's one of the pound-for-pound strongest dudes at any position, let alone quarterback. He's going to be a good passer. Lincoln Riley's going to get his feet right. And your triple option game, your spread to run game, gets to be at the next level because Trey Sermon and Kennedy Brooks back there with Ramondre Stevenson. By the way, Ramondre Stevenson is enormous. Like, he's a lot bigger than the men chasing him. So I'm thinking about what it would look like to have a split back with Trey Sermon on one side, Ramondre Stevenson on the other, Jalen Hurts in the middle. And it's going to be difficult to bring down either one of those guys. And you got jump balls all day to guys like CeeDee Lamb, Theo Weiss, Trajan Bridges, Charleston Rambo. You have speed on the outside if you need it. You have enormous slot guys, Grant Calcaterra. You also have Drake Stoops coming back. Yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't want Jalen Hurts at Oklahoma. You wanted Kyler Murray. You wanted Baker Mayfield. It's not as if a transfer quarterback at Oklahoma has not been the best thing ever. The last two transfers won the Heisman and got you in the college football playoff. Dan, what are you even thinking about with that take? Let's see. Do we think? Matthew, I was just asked that question, so scroll back in the stream. Declared NFL draft. So, is Stevens as big or bigger than P. Ryan? He's about the same. He's taller. He's taller than Samaje and about the same size. So that makes him bigger than Samaje P. Ryan. Tells you a lot. He is an enormous dude playing running back. Tijuana. No backs will ever be as big as Optimus P. Ryan. All right. Watch. Like, Samaje's a big, strong dude who was barrel-chested and had huge arms. But he was not 6'1". He's not 6'2". You have Trey Sermon bordering on being bigger than Samaje already. Think about that. You have Trey Sermon bordering on being bigger than Samaje already. Samaje's 235. Okay? Trey Sermon, he'll be 235 this spring. And he'll be taller. Same thing with Ramondre. I know everybody looked at the size of Samaje's arms and decided he was the biggest dude ever. But, I mean, Adrian Peterson was 215. Nobody looked at the size of his arms. And nobody to this day would ever say that Adrian Peterson ain't no big cat. I don't know, man. Let's see. Let me see. Nah, Deep, you don't get your questions answered. All you do is talk noise in the comments. You're lucky that I don't ban you. Let me see. What else we got in here? Travis Penner. I think Joseph Wetty is very underrated. Excited about him. I think that's decent, right? Very underrated because of where he comes out of. He comes out of the District of Columbia, which is, not a state, but also a very small district. And he's the number one recruit out of it. But to look at his size and to look at the kind of scheme that he played in, you see a lot of what makes him a good fit for Oklahoma. If he learns to be better in pass coverage, they would probably like to move him outside and try to get him to cover up some slot guys or some tight ends. But you know how much I hate that. I would rather see the guy be rushing folks and be a run stopper than be asked to split out wide and cover the curl or the hook route. I just think that doing that to a guy like Mark Jackson or Ronnie Perkins is murder. Because if I'm an offensive coordinator, I look for that matchup every single time, and I abuse it. Let's see. What else got in here? Sheldon Lemmy. Is Kerry Cooks gone? I don't think he's going to be around. Like, if I had to make a bet on it, I would say that I don't necessarily think he's going to stick around. I think that he's out the door, but stranger things have happened. Let's just say that I would not be surprised to hear somebody else is coaching the cornerbacks in 2019. Just heard Bobby Evans declared. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, Joe. So we got heard Riley was in Allen, Texas today. Your thoughts? I mean, I don't keep up with the dude's travel schedule. Maybe he wanted Baskin Robbins. Where are you going with that, man? Like, be more specific. Let's see. Happy Demarco Murray picking a coaching job. Yeah. I haven't actually made a video about that. Been meaning to. Demarco Murray is the new running back coach at Arizona, as in the Arizona Wildcats. And he looked good. But then spray tan has always looked good. Ain't you spray tan? I'm joking. Don't call him spray tan to his face. He might sock you in the jaw. But thanks for breaking him in, Kevin Sumlin. We'll see you soon in Norman, Demarco Murray. You know, I mean, you're one of the best running backs coming out of Oklahoma. You were outstanding for the Cowboys. You were pretty good for the Titans. And we all know that he's kind of a legend coming out of Vegas and Bishop Gorman. I think it was a natural evolution. Like between DeMarco Murray and Tashard Choice and Antonio, man, he's Arizona State linebacker. Y'all gonna help me with that. Yeah, Antonio Pierce. You know, there's some ex-NFL players that I think would make some outstanding position coaches, if not coordinators, later on down the line. And DeMarco's one of them, because if he'll listen to what Sumlin has to say, I could see DeMarco Murray not just being a good running backs coach, but a good coordinator, if not head coach someday. So I'm excited to see what he does and how they look next year, particularly at running back. Benny Lagoons. Jeremiah Criddle is a stud. Yes, he is. And a huge get. Matter of fact, I have an interview coming later this week with Darian Green-Warren, who's the 2024 star cornerback, where we talk at length about him being coached by Deion Sanders and what Deion Sanders said about his game. We talk at length about Bryce Young, 2020 quarterback target, who is currently committed to USC. And we talk about Jeremiah Criddle. Darian Green-Warren played in the same backfield as Jeremiah Criddle, number one recruit Elias Ricks, who's committed to LSU, and I forget there's one more in there. JT Daniels, who went to Mater Dei, Brew McCoy, who is committed and signed to USC. That dude has been going up against some of the best in the game for a very long time, and I'm really excited about DGW and him being an early commit to this 2020 class. He's going to take his visits, and we get into that a little bit more, but I think just the mere fact that he's in the same defensive backfield with guys like Criddle and Elias Ricks tells you everything you need to know about where defensive recruiting is going for Oklahoma. Because if you look at the 2020 commits, there are 5 now. 2 of them play corner. Tells you a lot, dog. They're both, and I need to add this for the folks that been harping on it like me, they're both over 6 feet tall. You know, you could do a lot worse. Let me see. What else we got in here? Robert Walker. We don't want Hurts. Fight me. Let's see. Do you think Kenneth Murray improves his positioning next year? I understand he had all of them tackles seem to be out of position. Okay, so I got a video coming about this, and maybe I'll get to it this weekend. But Kenneth Murray Jr. is a stud. I've been saying this for like 2 years, and I still believe it. He's a middle linebacker who all he does is run down and chase tackles. And if you're Alex Grinch, he's the kind of dude you build around. Because Alex has said, look, we need to be fast, we need to be fast, we need to be fast. And we need to be able to run to the football. Mike Leach said it himself. Run to the football. That's the most important thing about playing defense. It's getting to the football. Kenneth Murray Jr., 155 tackles. That is the most tackles by a linebacker at Oklahoma in 8 years. 2 off of Curtis Lofton's 157. And y'all love Curtis Lofton. Remember him? Y'all want to talk noise about this defense, bring up Curtis Lofton, and then you got Kenneth Murray Jr., who's in the same stratosphere as that dude, and you want to talk noise about Kenneth Murray Jr. Kenneth Murray Jr. has his season as a linebacker is legendary. Okay? And I know it's going to get missed because the defense was garbage and he didn't have the tackles for loss. But y'all need to get up off of that. K9 has been a dog. He's 6'2", 240. He is Luke Cage. He is Power Man. And he's your middle linebacker. All right? I think he's going to be inside. He's going to be the linchpin for at least next year. And you know what? I would not be surprised to find out that that dude makes such a quantum leap in his game again that he leaves for early entry in the 2020 NFL draft. Because he has the size, the speed, and the intellect to play middle linebacker at the NFL level. He is your best defensive prospect to date. That includes Neville Gallimore. That includes Ronnie Perkins. That includes Buki, Caleb Kelly, whoever it is you want to throw in there. Kenneth Murray Jr. is the best defensive player you have at your disposal in 2019. Get behind him or get off the wagon. Let's see. What's got in here? What do you think of Robertson moving to D tackle? Look at his size. Robertson. Oh, Corey Robertson. Look, let's see what he looks like when he gets on campus. A lot of y'all want to project these dudes to play other positions when you don't realize that the jump from being a senior in high school to being a true freshman in college is the biggest one they're going to make for the rest of their lives in football. Let's see what he looks like when he gets here. You know, a lot of these dudes, once they get here, they figure out what it is, and they might be defensive ends, they might not be. But who is the last converted defensive end to defensive tackle that you've seen? Who? I know who that person is. You know, you would want to say Amani Bledsoe, but he's been a defensive tackle or defensive end the whole time that they just kind of moved inside. But it's really Chuka Ndulue. Chuka was a speed rusher that they blew up by 50 pounds to play defensive tackle because Mike Stoops wanted to move to a true 3-4 50 front, and it was the worst decision that he made short of getting rid of linebacker play in like 2013, 2012, 2011. When you had guys like Corey Nelson at your disposal and did absolutely nothing with them. Let's see. Sean asked me about kickers in August. I'm not gonna waste everybody's time talking about replacing Austin Kendall, or Austin Seibert. Okay. J Bones, biggest breakout star for the D next year. Well, breakout star. That would have to be somebody new. That would mean that you're not you don't really have a lot of candidates for that because you return a bunch of dudes on the defense. I mean, you get Ronnie Perkins back, you get Gallimore, you get Murray, you get Kelly, you get Buki, you get Motley, you get Norwood, you get Brown, you get Barnes. Like you're talking about one of the freshmen. Because you ain't got no JUCO guys outside of LaRon Stokes. And maybe LaRon Stokes is the dude. Maybe that's the guy. Because you don't really have that many candidates. Because the freshmen are going to have a difficult time earning starting positions. At least out the gate, out the jump. By October, it's a mess and nobody knows who's doing what. But keep an eye on that, in that I think you're going to see a big leap from the sophomores. I think you're going to see a big leap from guys like Ronnie Perkins. You're going to see a big leap from Buki, provided they move him back to corner or he gets better at playing nickel, whichever comes first. Also, those of you that hate on Buki are the same people that hate on K9, the same people that hate defense. Kick rocks. Your opinions no longer mean anything because you're not taking in what the kids were asked to do. The reason that I go to bat for guys like Buki and guys like Kenneth Murray Jr. is because they've been playing positions they did not get recruited for. Okay? Buki is a cover corner, a bump and run corner. You had him playing not only nickel safety, but nickel safety in Mike's scheme, which is 7 yards off the ball, which is telling Buki not to use any of the things he knows how to do well, which is put his hands on people and run with them side by side. 1. 2, Kenneth Murray Jr., outside linebacker safety. You said, hey, we're thin at middle linebacker. You're going to start at middle linebacker. You're going to be the first freshman to start at middle linebacker since 1975. Good luck. And all he did was come up with 78 tackles next to Emmanuel Bill. And then the next year, he nearly doubled the number of tackles that he had in 2017. He had 78 in 2017, 155 in 2018. He was one tackle away from doubling that number. That's how big a leap Kenneth Murray Jr. made. He makes another quantum leap like that in 2019, and Grinch's defense is doing anything? Yes. He is the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and he is the best defensive player that Oklahoma has. I don't know where some of y'all are coming from with these takes on these kids. I don't. I wonder how much football you're actually watching, especially of the team you claim to support. I mean, I bag on them just as much as you do, but I bag on them for good reason. You know, I'm not over here telling you that Parnell Motley's going to do you dude. I am telling you that you need to take into account when you ask a kid to convert his position from something he did for 4 years to something brand new at a level that he's never played at before, you cannot expect him to be great. Not right away. And then you got greatness out of Kenneth Murray Jr. and you want to bag on him because the defense is garbage. Sit down. Sit down. The next person who tells me that Buki is garbage, I'm putting you in timeout. The next person that tells me that Kenneth Murray is garbage, I'm putting you in timeout. Because I'm no longer putting up with it. It's a bad take. Hey, what's up, babe? Pat Fields played hard in the Orange Bowl. Now, Pat Fields has an opportunity to continue to play. I think if they want to keep the nickel in, he didn't look bad. He didn't look bad, but I also think keep playing him, and he will, because that's what happened to Buki. That's what happened to Delaren Turner-Yell. The freshmen are going to get their cards pulled. Every freshman does. You saw a lot of Drake Stoops early, and then he fell off the map. Also, another freshman people were high on. It's just going to happen. I'm telling you, high school senior to true freshman is the biggest jump a football player is ever going to make in their life. Just take some getting used to. You're going to take your lumps. Keep your head up. Get back to it in the spring. Come back stronger. Like Kenneth Murray Jr. Let me see. Draper is in now, right? Dude is going to be a huge part of our defense. I hope Levi Draper can move up because I like Levi Draper. I like his game. I like his game the way I like Kenneth Murray Jr.'s game. I just see a football player. I see a linebacker who runs sideline to sideline. I see speed. I see size. Problem is, Curtis Bolton was the best weak side linebacker you had, the best will you had last year. And Caleb Kelly could barely get on the field as a Sam, which means that we didn't get to see any more Ryan Jones. And I love Ryan Jones. I'm a Ryan Jones truther too. But if Levi can make the leap to where he can be the starter next to Kenneth Murray Jr., look out, man. I mean, you got absolute hammers in the linebacking core. To say nothing to Deshaun White, right? First time I've said that dude's name all night, and we've been doing this for almost 45 minutes. I mean, you have hammers at linebacker, and I think that's another reason why Tim Kish felt comfortable retiring. He knows that the linebacking core is in good shape, and I don't think that he would want to step down unless he knew that, because he knew what kind of shape it was 2-3 years ago. Partly his doing, right? And he brought it back. I got to respect Tim Kish for that. 43 years as a coach. He deserves his retirement. Let's see. It's never the kid that is the problem when the kid is starting. If it was the kid, they would bench him. Amen. Good take, Tijuana. Like I said, bring flame. Don't be a lame. That's flame. You're starting a kid because he's the best you have, which is why, as much as we dog on Parnell Motley, he led the team in interceptions, and he started for a reason. And they pulled him, right? Because at some point, it was Trey Norwood and Trey Brown who were starting. By the way, Trey Norwood making the move to safety almost ensures that Boogie gets moved back to corner. And there's a lot of us, myself included, that think that dude looks more like a free safety than he does a corner, just because he's slight of build and he likes to play off the ball. He likes that bail technique. He's actually the only guy that I would support continues to play it. But I also think that cornerbacks should be given free will to play the way they want to play their technique. If they're bumping run guys, let them be bumping run guys. If they're bail technique guys, of which there are few, but like Marcus Peters, he's not a bail technique guy, or he is a bail technique guy. Excuse me, it's a keep to lead. That's a man guy. Let him do that. Build it into the scheme. Because I think being a corner is just as hard as being a quarterback. Meaning that if you're not able to play in the scheme, then you're going to look like a lot of trash. You're going to look garbage. If you're an air raid quarterback playing a basketball on grass offense, you ain't going to be very good. And vice versa. So I think that that's actually a wise move to move Trey Norwood into a place where he's going to be able to use his bail technique, safety, right? And can defend things over the top. And let Buki get back into people's chili. Let's see. RG has said it before, the DC will run a 3-4, but multiple, not in those words, but I think I'm close. Yeah, pretty much. I think the 3-4 is going to basically have the same sort of dynamics and schematics as a 4-2-5. Which I'm fine with, I want one gap scheme. I want man coverage. I want bump and run. I want speed on the field. Alex Grinch. That's what the Grinch is bringing. Is Alabama's size of players too big of Grinch's defense, or can big players like that be successful in defensive runs? If you can get big defensive players, you get them. Problem is, there ain't that many of them. I continue to tell people, defensive tackle is the hardest position to recruit in the entire world because there aren't that many great defensive tackles. getting big, fast dudes is difficult to recruit because there ain't that many of them. And the dudes that are big and fast want to go to places where they can be insured to play in the NFL and insured to play for national championships. Right now, the only two places where that is guaranteed, Alabama and Clemson. But Georgia has big, fast dudes, and even they can get beat. See Texas. You know, I mean, Notre Dame has big, fast dudes, and they scored all of 3 points. Okay, they got 30 dropped on them. Jared Tillery, a defensive tackle for them, really great. Awesome. Mad Games. Love the videos, RJ. You work really hard. I appreciate that, fam. For those of you that haven't been keeping up with what's been going on with the channel, because I know, people show up when they show up, which is why, I read the comments and I'll see people that haven't shown up in a while want to act like they've been here, and they haven't. But I've been up to about 4 videos a day, dropping them between 5 and 6 o'clock, 5 and 6:30, basically trying to figure out when people are more likely to want to see them when they come out. And also, they're acting like segments in a simulcast radio show, right? Because if you count the segments in a radio show, there are 4 in each hour. So if RJ did an hour show, he'd have 4 segments, about 4 different topics. And people really didn't enjoy the 25-minute, 30-minute video where I would just kind of go from subject to subject. And people didn't enjoy me giving 3 minutes on a subject and 3 minutes on another subject in a video that had a title. If it were up to me, I wouldn't use titles at all. I hate titles, but YouTube is a search engine, so you use titles. You have to. It's mandatory. So I've been doing this where you get 6 to 10 minutes about a subject where I just drill on it, and you get what you want, and then you leave. Because I know a lot of folks, the way they experience this, they watch them at work, they watch them on the train, they watch them on the bus, they watch them while they're waiting on their kids to get out of school, they watch them at soccer practice. Moms, I'm sure, watch them under pavilions at soccer games. I don't know, man. I'm just trying to give everybody the best that they can get out of me, and the channel has been flourishing. Also, I probably need to get into this because we only have a few minutes left, but we, the YouTube community that is RJ Young, we have been recognized by YouTube as a channel to watch, right? Because the growth of the channel, the engagement of the channel, the number of people watching the videos on a regular basis is all kind of hit YouTube and said, hey, we want to help you continue to grow. We are going to match you with what is called a partner coordinator, who is going to basically give you an in-depth overview of your channel, see where the channel is going, see what you do right, see why people show up, and help you continue to thrive. This is a very cool honor. This is a very humbling honor that not just speaks well of what I've been doing, but speaks well of how you guys have engaged on the channel. And from the likes to the comments to the live stream, all of this is of a piece, and YouTube is saying, hey, man, y'all are doing a really good job. So thank you for that. I'm humbled by it. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep growing. It's going to be great. Don't know really what the channel is going to be, but you can see what I've been edging toward, kind of like a radio show-ish. That's just for us, people that subscribe to the channel, people that watch the channel on a regular basis. Also, before we get out of here, the YouTube channel has donated a large amount of money that comes from you guys watching the videos and the ads overviews and whatnot to the Owasso YMCA, which, is a very big deal to me because I would not be able to do that without you. And I want folks to know that the community cares about its community. So things like Owasso Family Y, things like Angel Tree, things like the United Way, things like Youth Services of Tulsa, where I basically live, we as a community are kicking in, man. It's what we do. I've been told that I need to say that more often. It still sounds icky to me. It will never not sound icky to me, but when we get the banner at the Owasso Family Y, for which Laurel runs, Laurel's RJ's girlfriend, third person. Anyway, I'm going to take a picture of it. We'll probably do something like that just so that everybody can join in and understand that just by watching the channel, just by clicking the thumbnail, you have contributed to some really cool things and some really inspiring nonprofits and charities, because that's who we are. Dieter, we are set at linebacker with Asamoah, Benito, Draper, Jones, Kelly, Murray, Michael Terry, and Deshaun White. Yeah, that's pretty good. However, just heads up, I would not be surprised if John Michael Terry was not here next year. We'll see. him making the move from inside linebacker to jack linebacker last year after Addison Gums decided to transfer just smelled funny to me. But we'll wait and see on it. But no, Dieter, that's a good take. Thank you, Nick Saban. You're welcome, J-Mont. I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Let me see. What else we got in here? Brandon Rader. RJ, do we have dogs that we haven't seen in the interior DL? I will be honest, I am not sold on our personnel. At 0 and 3 techniques, we need to really upgrade. Brandon, I think you do. But I also think that running a 0 technique has always been a bad move, because the NFL doesn't even run a bunch of 0 techniques, because those are space eaters. Those dudes are actually 350 pounds. They're actually the size of a Mack truck. They actually can occupy 3 men. They can take up 2 gaps, right? The A and the B. You're not going to find that in college. And more to the point, the dudes that are being highly recruited as 4 and 5 stars, they got there by splitting offensive linemen and getting into the backfield in 1-gap techniques. So a 0 technique was always false and terrible. And one of the reasons that I was telling folks that Mike Stoops needed to be fired, because you're running a scheme that doesn't make any sense, especially in this league. But you got 3 techniques. You do. Neville Gallimore is one. Troy James is another. I know folks don't really seem to appreciate Tyrese Lott or Isaiah. Not Isaiah Thomas. What's Isaiah's last name? I forget. I should know. Went to my alma mater. Anyway, you have dudes that can play there. But rotating them in is going to be a big deal. One of the things that Clemson did really well, and one of the reasons they were really good, is because they can go 7 deep on the defensive line, which is not necessarily something everybody can do. So you don't have to leave your 4 best out there all the time to get worn out, and by middle of the third quarter, they're getting run over for 5, 6, 7, 8 yards a clip. That's bad. So, I mean, when you talk about dogs, Brandon, I think you're also calling into question the kids' hustle and want to be great. And I think that's offsides. I don't think any kid is out there getting beat up or bleeding because they're not a dog. I honestly think that calling the kids soft does not really. If you're calling a college football player soft at Oklahoma, I gotta believe you don't have any respect for the kids themselves, or respect for your own kids, or respect for yourself. Because, I make a lot of mistakes. I forget to turn the microphone on. The audio is low, or the audio is too loud. Sometimes the jump cuts aren't as good as I would like them to be. Sometimes I can't get through the whole thing in one take. But I am doing my best the whole time. So for anybody to say that I'm not a dog, or to say that I lack effort or hustle, I'm not going to want to hear anything you have to say. Because are you back here with all of this equipment making it happen? No, you're not. You're just watching and yelling. And I feel like that's the way that a lot of fans are with these kids. You're watching and yelling, and you're calling into question effort that these kids are putting in, the same amount of effort that you do. So I got to say that if you think that the kids are soft, and you think that the kids lack dog, perhaps it's you that's soft and lack dog. Perhaps it's you that can't do it, right? And you want to see something that, quite frankly, they just can't do because they're not physically able. That's got nothing to do with dog and everything to do with, talent. Talent is being 6'5", 300 pounds. As a 5'5", 140-pound dude, I know I can't play defensive line or linebacker at any level, period. Got a hard time playing corner at any level. That doesn't make me not a dog. It just means that I'm not talented enough. I mean, and what are you going to do? It's like when you have a position coach that tells you, why did you let him, push you away? Why did you let him block you out of the play? I didn't let him do anything. That dude just knocked me over. And I can keep going there, sticking my head in there and getting my head knocked off. That is the definition of dog. Is continuing to run in there. Like, we joke about Rudy and we make all kinds of we throw all kinds of shade at Rudy Rudiger. But what gets lost in there is that it takes moxie, hustle, and to be a dog, to be 5'5", 140 pounds and play defensive end at Notre Dame and get your head chopped off every practice, let alone in a game. And he got to play 1 game. He was so excited. He lined up off sides. He played kickoff. That is what he was trying to achieve. So if you got that kind of heart, why would you let somebody come at you and tell you you're not a dog? I wouldn't allow it. I would cut you off, and I do. Folks get blocked on the channel all the time. because I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my stuff. What we got here? Let me see. All right. Tyrese got motor, can't wait. All right. I think that's going to do it for this live stream. If you like the channel, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. We have a good time. I will see you tomorrow. Deuces.